Good morning, world. As you guys know already, we're a British family that decided to have our baby here in the Philippines, and that has all gone successfully. And we wanted to share with you today some information about what happens when you have a baby in Cebu.
Yes, in the Philippines, giving birth in the Philippines. We're going to talk about the pros, the cons. Was it worth it? Did we make the right decision?
How much did it cost?
How much did it cost? Yeah, I'm sure a few of you are quite interested in that.
Yeah.
So our baby's actually asleep right now.
Yeah, she's peacefully sleeping in the bedroom. She's already 2 weeks old, and we have been enjoying life here. She's finding her place, finding her peace.
Yeah.
And today we just want to cover all of those niggling bits of information that we didn't know before going into this, and let you guys know if we thought it was worth doing or not. So let's start with why we did it. I'll let you answer that.
Why we did it? Well, we've been living in the Philippines for 5 years now on the island of Siargao, and when we found out we were pregnant, we just kind of automatically thought, okay, we're going to do this process here rather than flying back to our home country. Once we've weighed up the costs of what it would cost to fly us all back, we have another daughter who's 8 years old. The cost of the flights back to the UK, the cost of accommodation, of where we would stay for possibly up to 2 months in the UK while we were doing this process, it kind of didn't make sense to spend that money when we could do it right here in the neighbouring island.
So if you don't know already, in the UK we have something called the National Health Service, which is a free healthcare for everybody. So if we did go back to the UK, it would have been completely covered by the government. However, we haven't lived in the UK for so long, it feels a bit treacherous to go
Yeah.
back to the UK just to use the government's free system.
Yes.
And also, it's a public free health service, which means you've got zero control over the outcome, who your doctor's going to be, who your midwives, nurses are going to be.
Yeah.
It's not private healthcare. And when we figured out the costs for going and realised that by the end of it we would still only get public care instead of private care,
Yeah.
it didn't make sense economically to uplift everything, go there for free healthcare.
Yeah. And my past experience of giving birth in Europe turned out to be quite a traumatic experience, and our daughter was born via an emergency C-Section, which is why I didn't want to possibly have that experience again, and I wanted to make sure everything was in place and it was kind of planned meticulously, the birth this time around, and it really gave me a sense of peace of mind and that everything was going to be okay. I knew who my surgeon was for the whole pregnancy. I had meetings with her multiple times. She was also the one doing my antenatal care here in Cebu, doing the scans. We've had long chats, so I knew on the day this lady is going to be the one that is birthing my child, you know, and it really gave me that kind of
Peace of mind.
Yeah, to know that this is what's going to happen.
I think that fits into the pros, knowing what you're going into to some degree,
Yeah.
knowing who your surgeon is going to be, knowing who is going to be the one that's opening you up to take the baby out, and who's the one that's going to be looking after you throughout the whole process. You don't get that under public health care.
No. So I chose an elective C-section for the birth. I didn't attempt a natural birth, mainly because from the beginning, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, the very first scan that I had, they were asking questions about previous births and things like that, previous pregnancies. And when I explained what happened with my previous birth, automatically she was like, well, I would go for an elective C-section. And I was told that 3 times by 3 different doctors. So that's what we did. I was like, okay, it's the safest option. I don't want what happened before to happen again. And it just felt right to do that.
I think another pro I noticed, I'm not sure if you feel the same way, is that all of the doctors, surgeons, everybody that you met up with was a woman.
Yes.
So it was good to know that the person who was taking care of the surgery was somebody who had perhaps already had this surgery done themselves. They already have children. they're a woman themselves, they've got the same biology as you. She gave you advice on how it was going to look, even how neat it was going to be, how long it was going to take to heal, what it was going to feel like, and to be able to get that first-hand information from the person who was going to do the actual surgery was very reassuring.
Like I've said, it gave me just the peace of mind that it was going to be okay, that doing it here was the right decision, and we would have more control over how things happened rather than possibly going back to the UK and not having any control over who was going to be my surgeon or who was going to be birthing my child.
Another pro is that Filipinos are some of the best doctors and nurses on earth. They're all over the world, right? So we already know that healthcare from Filipino people is of a high standard. And to go to a hospital here, like a decent hospital, and have care from the people of this country, we kind of already had that peace of mind and reassurance that the care was going to be slightly more caring. We've had experiences before where doctors can be very rude, just like almost insulting. They do things without your consent, like they'll just bring in loads of people to kind of like observe you without giving you a heads up beforehand, and you feel like a science experiment. Whereas the what do you call that now? The bedside manner. Bedside manner. We already knew the bedside manner was going to be of a high standard. Even if we were to have gone to a public hospital here, we did choose to go to a private hospital because we had a budget set out for this. So we knew that the care was going to be of an even higher standard.
And because I was having surgery, it was like a kind of another step up. Like, you really want to make sure that everything was going to be okay, and you were choosing the best option rather than just kind of going, okay, well, whatever happens, we'll see what happens on the day kind of thing. I didn't want that. I wanted to know.
I think it's probably a good idea to mention some of the cons. To be realistic, from my perspective, one thing I didn't like about this whole process was a little bit of a lack of transparency throughout the whole process. So what I mean by that is that for about 9 months, we were asking the question, which hospital shall we go to? How much is it going to cost? And we were given different prices all the time, drip fed little bits of information all the way until the very end. And that made it quite difficult to plan everything out, which goes a little bit against what we said before, because everything did work out perfectly in the end. But I felt like it would have been more possible to just be a bit more transparent with the information. And I think that if we were to advise other foreigners to come to the Philippines to have a baby, it would be very difficult to tell them exactly how much their process was going to cost or where to get clarity from.
And I think that comes down to the fact that it's a private hospital and a private doctor, and everyone in the situation is a private doctor. So they each charge different fees depending on where they're working, which happens in the UK as well. So, if you go to a top London hospital with a private surgeon, they're going to charge you more than what they would if they were working on the NHS or something like that. So
it would have been nicer if it was possible to get some kind of package price so that we knew what we were going to have to pay at the end. But instead, what happened was there was a doctor's fee, an anesthesiologist's fee, a medical room fee. Every price is listed individually, and you really don't know how much it's going to cost you until the very last second when they produce the bill on the table.
But there is a package price, which is listed on the website. You can look at prices on the websites for the hospitals. But that package price isn't including your choice of doctor. So if you want a specific person to be your doctor and your surgeon on the day, that's when it goes out of the package price. So the package price may be like a trainee doctor or someone that's doing their year abroad studying and doing their training. So if you don't want that and you want to know, this is my surgeon, I know their experience, I know where they've worked before, you can look into who you want to do your surgery and become their patient.
Another con, we were told to go to the hospital on the day, check in after 3 p.m. There would be rooms available, you'd be able to get your choice. It's a massive hospital, everything will be fine if you just turn up and just kind of begin the process as you walk through the door. And we did ask multiple times before we go there, what's the procedure? can we pre-book a room? Is it possible to kind of find out what's going to happen on the day? And we were told, oh no, it doesn't work like that. You just walk in, everything will be there. And we did that, and we ended up not having any rooms available that we chose.
But then it kind of worked out better. But I wish we'd have gotten there earlier, because it took hours. It wasn't just turning up and getting put in your room. I had to go through a whole series of tests. I had to be monitored, and baby had to be monitored for like 2 hours. It was a long time.
So we ended up having to kind of like upgrade to the next room up, which was again, it was a lot more expensive. So the price went up, which was unexpected. And it would have been fine if I just knew these things beforehand.
So we had to kind of upgrade to the Deluxe Suite.
Which was much more expensive. But again, it did work out better in the end, and I'm glad that we did get that room, because it felt really nice. And it felt like the experience we actually wanted.
And the floor we were on for the Deluxe Suites was very quiet. The staff were super attentive. It was just very quiet, very relaxed, and very peaceful.
The room was beautiful. It was like going into an ultra clean hotel room with a hospital bed in it. There was only one bed for you. I had to sleep on a sofa, but it was comfortable enough. And I did notice that because nobody else was up there, like all of the nurses that were on that floor were just for us, and that made it super easy. You got to press the button, they were there instantly. And I don't think that would have happened if we got the room that we originally had chosen.
So just to give you an idea, this is the kind of itemized bill. This is what you get given. So all of this is everything that I used, you know, every kind of swab and drip and splint, plaster is literally itemized down to the T. And everything is charged for what you use. And then you've got your doctor's fees on top of all of that as well.
So you really have no idea how much it's going to cost, and that's the reason why they can't give you a package price. Because let's say, for example, when they tried to put the IV line in, they missed one of the veins, so they had to give Sacha a splint. So they were like, I'm just going to bring you a splint. And you just think, okay, they're going to bring you a splint. But then the splint appears on the bill. And then they were like, okay, we're just going to do this because we need it. And then that appears on the bill. So they can't tell you how much things are going to cost.
Because they don't know what equipment you're going to need. They don't know what you're going to use. And
there's transparency afterwards, but there's not transparency prior. When we were talking to our surgeon, I asked her, what is the worst case scenario price-wise? And it ended up being about 35% more than that. So I was like a little bit scared when they presented me the bill, because I didn't know if I was going to have literally enough money to pay for it at the last moment. And that's the only thing that I feel could be improved on. A little bit more communication between the departments, and almost didn't have enough, to cover it. So before we get on to how much it costs, the exact price, I'll give you that at the end. There's a few questions people keep asking us. Because Juniper was born here in the Philippines, is she going to have dual citizenship? No, she's not.
They don't do that.
They don't do that here in the Philippines. She is born to two British parents. We just so happen to have the baby here. So she has a birth certificate that was issued by the Philippines. It's got the address and the country that she was born in, but ultimately we have to apply for a passport and citizenship from our home country.
So she is British.
She'll be British.
As we all are. There's no dual citizenship issued. Philippines doesn't work like that. They don't do that anymore. And I don't think many countries do.
No, I think it's phasing out. I think that was a very old-fashioned thing that doesn't really happen much anymore. Why did we choose to do it in Cebu over Manila? I think mainly because we live in Siargao. Siargao Island is a beautiful island. It's got no hospital. So our choices were big cities, Manila being the biggest, Cebu being the second best, I would say. And Cebu is much closer and much more affordable to get to. And the hospitals are really good.
It was a very good hospital, and honestly I can't fault the hospital and the staff and the care that I was given, and how you were treated as well.
Really well.
It was beyond what we thought, and it's beyond anything that we would have had we gone back to the UK to do this as well. And Juniper was born in the Chong Hua Hospital in Mandaue in Cebu.
It's a fairly new hospital. I just loved how attentive the doctors and the staff were. You were never meant to feel less than them. Sometimes you can get this superiority from medical staff. You didn't get any of that. Everyone was very calm. They gave you time. You want to be explained something, they'll stand there and explain it to you. It wasn't like, I've got to go, I'm a busy surgeon. It was like, I'll talk to you. I'll let you know what happened.
Everyone gave you their full attention, their full time.
Yeah.
You know, you could sit and ask as many questions as you wanted, and I never felt like I'm getting on your nerves, or I need to like leave, or I'm not going to ask that because, you know, you look too busy or something. You know, I always felt listened to, I always felt heard, and any questions that I had, they were answered.
Something that needs to be mentioned is that the husband is not allowed in the room.
Yeah.
Pretty much in any kind of hospital here in the Philippines, they don't allow you in the room
during the birth.
Yeah. Especially if they're having surgery. Now, I think this might be the same in many countries as well, but I didn't really know what was going to happen with that until later in. I did ask if it would be possible to like kind of get some documentation, like get some pictures or get some video, and it wasn't clear if they were going to do it, but in the end the surgeon asked her staff.
Well, yeah, exactly, going back to the kind of like how nice the doctors were and the surgeons, like no matter what level they were at, it was like they were kind of all friends in the surgery room. Like they were laughing, they were ordering coffee, like I was laying there on the table ready for action, and the staff were laughing, and it felt nice. It didn't feel like nerve-wracking in a way, because everyone was happy, and so it kind of made me feel better, even though I was terrified and I was laying there like, oh, okay, I'm ready, what's gonna happen? But just feeling the energy from the staff around me, it was nice. And the anesthesiologist,
I've been practicing.
as he came in to kind of numb me, he was like, would you like me to take pictures for you? And I was like, oh my gosh, yes, please.
It's got some incredible pictures, because I didn't know if I was going to be able to see anything, because I was a bit emotional that I wasn't allowed in and that I wasn't allowed to see this moment. I wanted to be with Sacha, I wanted to hold her hand and like, you know, just be there during the surgery. And when I was told I couldn't do that, I was like, well, I'm just going to wait outside then. And then when they came out, they brought me the pictures and they were like, oh, would you like to see them? Are you squeamish? Because like, I've taken pictures of everything. And I was like, show me everything. It was incredible to see the moment, like the exact second that Juniper was brought out into the world. I didn't think I was going to get that privilege. And I got to see all of it. And it's like the tour guides here in the Philippines. They know how to take photos.
Everyone knows how to use an iPhone.
Yeah, they're great with their composition. They knew how to take a good photo. They knew how to make it not look so gruesome and everything.
It was very good.
Very good.
So the whole process, because there's a big digital clock on the wall, so I was like watching every second. I was in the operating room for about 2 hours. An hour of that was like prep and everything, and then the surgeon came in. The moment she began to the moment she left was 1 hour, almost exactly, and baby was born within 20 minutes.
By 8:18 in the morning on that day, on the 25th of July 2025, Juniper was born and brought out to me after about an hour or so skin to skin with you. So they allowed you to have your bonding moment. So even after the surgery, Sacha was awake.
Straight away, I heard her cry, I heard her come out. The surgeon like poked her head over the drapes and was like, congratulations, she's beautiful. You know, they had that interaction. They weren't just ignoring me.
Yeah, like silent, like robots.
Yeah, like I was a kind of slab on the table. Like, you know, they made it really personalised, and I really liked that, and I thought that was really nice. Everything's okay. Like, she reassured me. She already had a little hat on.
So even though it seems like quite an extreme circumstance, like having a big surgery like this, you still had this kind of almost natural birth experience where the baby comes out, but then you also get to see the baby and touch the baby and cuddle the baby awake straight away. Whereas with Story, our first daughter, because it was an emergency C-section, you were out completely, weren't you? And then until you woke up in the room, you didn't know what had happened. So we already knew we didn't want that to happen, and it was performed perfectly. Everything just kind of went exactly how you couldn't have asked for a better way for it to play out.
Yeah, there was no trauma associated with this birth, whereas my previous birth, it was, took a while to get over. So
I want to touch briefly on this as well. We are in our 40s, and we were never meant to feel too old for this. If anything, the opposite. Not one person said anything negative.
No,
and
that's very true.
Really, really, really reassuring. Like from the very first consultation with all of the OBs until the end, everyone was like, this is normal now. People are doing this up until their late 40s, sometimes even early 50s. You're still young enough for this.
And I even questioned it. Like in the beginning, I was, you know, I said to the doctor, and she was like, oh no, don't worry about it. I've got clients that are older than you. So straight away I felt like, okay, this is fine.
Yeah.
I don't need to be like worried or embarrassed about anything. So
that's another pro against doing
Yeah.
this in the UK, where we felt the opposite. We were
Yes.
told, and this was when you were in your 32.
32,
You were
yeah.
32 and you were called a geriatric mother,
Yeah.
and that you were, already pushing high risk. Never once were you called high risk.
No.
All of your blood work, all of your tests, everything leading up to this was like really strong, positive.
Yeah.
You're healthy, you're ready for this, you can do this. And they were right. It was like absolute perfect
Yeah.
pregnancy and birth.
And even afterwards,
You didn't even get morning sickness, did you?
no.
It was like almost the perfect pregnancy. It's unbelievable
Yeah.
how well everything went.
It was a great pregnancy and a great birth. And even afterwards, I'm 41 now, giving birth at 41, but the doctors were like, oh, so you're going to try for a boy next?
Yeah,
Are you going to have another one? Like, there was no like, right, that's it, no more for you because you're too old. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
So it just felt nice. It was a really nice experience. Having surgery, you don't really associate that as being a nice experience, but it was just a good birth, positive.
If you choose to do this here in the Philippines and you do it in Manila, it's most likely going to cost double the price. Cebu was about half the price, even with the extras that we paid.
Yeah.
So I think it's about time now that we get on to how much did this all cost.
Okay, go on.
So when Sacha was having her pre-op checks done, I was asked to go to the admission room and pay 50,000 pesos to begin with. This is about the equivalent of 650 British pounds, and that was a consumable, like a kind of deposit that was going to get consumed. So you just pay that and then everything begins. After the baby was born, I was called back to that room again to pay another 10,000 pesos, which is about 125 British pounds, and that was a baby fee.
Yeah.
So it was 60k on the first day. Then we weren't charged anything and we weren't sure what was coming. And then after everything was done, after recovery, after all of the stuff had been administered, all the cleaning, bathing, everything they've given you, everything they've listed down on the receipt, they brought the price in on the last day, and the total cost on that day was 241,000 pesos was what had to be balance paid. So in total, we paid 301,139 pesos for this birth. That's the equivalent in British pounds of just under 4,000 British pounds. To get this private care, we think it's worth it, but we do know that we paid a premium price here because we got a higher tier room, one of the best surgeons, we went to one of the best hospitals. Yeah,
you could have done the package price, obviously, as we explained earlier, or you could have chosen a different hospital. So there's a few options of hospitals.
You could have had a student doctor, a student
so there
surgeon.
are other ways of doing it cheaper, but for us, going cheaper wasn't really what we were looking for.
Yeah, we wanted to be
in
safe.
This situation.
We're in the Philippines. We didn't know exactly how this was going to go, how it was going to feel. So we wanted to make sure we were at least researching and aiming for the best version of it. And I feel like we did get that. In the end, I do think it was worth it.
It was worth it purely because, well, one, everything went as we wanted it to.
Surgery's so neat.
As it should have done. Yeah, it's really, really good. The stress level of leaving the Philippines, flying to the UK,
signing up with
signing
the government,
up with the doctor again, and everything in the UK after not being there for so long, and moving house, changing location with a child and another one about to come out. It was too much. It's too much to do, too stressful. I ultimately wanted less stress, and I wanted
safety,
to just be safe and happy and feel good about it. And I am really glad that we stayed here and done it, and I got what I wanted out of it, which was a safe, positive birth.
And the Philippines really did take care of us with this, which we kind of knew already, having lived here for 5 years. Definitely worth it. I would recommend this particular hospital because it's our experience. Also, the one next door to it was UC Med. They were also good. You had a lot of your prenatal care done there.
I had scans there because the surgeon works out of UC Med as one of her main clinics. So I was going there quite often for my scans, like pre-birth checkups and things like that. So that hospital was also an option, and that hospital would have been a little bit cheaper to actually go through the birth there. But we chose Chong Hua just because it was a bit better, and we had heard that it was a little bit more organised than UC Med, so that's why we went there.
So you were in the hospital total 3 days, right? Yeah, and then when we came back home, we did like a little party, like a birthday party for Juniper with your dad and our first daughter, of course, which was really nice. Just to kind of like be staying nearby. We were only like 15 minutes away from the hospital. Everything felt like there was no traffic. Everything felt close by.
Yeah.
And we felt at home here in Cebu. The Airbnb owner of this place has been super kind and responsive, and like, you know, gave us the bassinet from his baby, and it felt nice. It felt again like we were being welcomed. It almost felt like they felt like it was a privilege to host us here because it's a big moment for us, bringing a baby into the Philippines, bringing a baby into this house. It's a big important moment, and they were very vocal about that, and that made me feel good. Really enjoyed it. So we're all very happy, we're all very grateful, and we just wanted to share this positive birthing experience with you guys. If you are interested in having a baby in the Philippines, it's a good place to do it. If you have a budget for it, it's worth it, and I would recommend it. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Hope you found it informative, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.